Good morning. Happy Memorial Day. Monday morning. Well, it's Memorial Day observed. Uh, May 31st. Jan Akins, welcome this morning. I wasn't sure how many people would be here today. It's a holiday, so I'm sure people weren't even certain whether I'd be doing a devotion this morning. I wasn't certain that I'd be doing a devotion this morning. Lori Cares, good morning. Let's see who else shows up on this Monday morning. I was just reflecting on the weekend. I'm going to give a couple of thoughts as a part of my devotional time this morning. Letitia Sexton, good morning. Last night we honored graduates through our baccalaureate service, which is a faith-based service, directed at graduates. It was so good. Jim Fuente, good to see you. Jeremy and Wendy, Suzanne and Daryl, good morning. Jake Faust, good to see you this morning. So yeah, it's always a special service, and it's always a time of reflection. Because many of the graduating seniors, you have known for lots of years. You've seen them as little kids in the church, and they've grown up, and it's always such a good time of reflection. And last night, one of the greatest moments, not moments, but the greatest experiences for me was hearing my daughter Mackenzie, who was asked to be the keynote speaker. And usually it's a pastor or a youth pastor, and which has been great. But the idea this year was that why don't we ask someone who is just beyond the next step of what these graduating seniors are looking forward to, college. So Mackenzie graduated college last year, 2020, and just 6 years ago, she was sitting in the very seats these graduates were sitting in, and so she had a unique perspective. Hey, I remember what I was thinking when I was sitting where you are, and here's what the last 6 years have been like for me, and it was such a good time, and she expressed her experience and how God directed her steps through that time with such, just like wise words that were reflective of her experience, not like this is how you ought to think and this is how you, or speaking in a sense of a hypothetical. But it was out of her own experience of what God has taught her in the last 6 years. And it was so meaningful. I'm hoping that it was very meaningful for those seniors, and maybe more relatable. And because she was pretty open and transparent about not having all the answers, and more questions than answers for sure. And the main point, because most of you didn't see it, was that many of us are thinking and being asked, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? What are your thoughts and desires based upon what you're going to accomplish, what you're going to do after graduation? And she said, the more important question is, who are you going to be? What kind of person are you developing and becoming? And regardless of what you do, more important is who you are, why you're doing those things, and developing that. And so it was really good. She referenced Matthew chapter 7, where Jesus says, you recognize a tree by its fruit. A good tree is going to produce good fruit. And so therefore, sometimes in those passages we focus so much on the fruit part, the doing, that we forget that the good fruit comes from a good tree. Jesus says good trees produce good fruit, bad trees produce bad fruit. A bad tree cannot produce good fruit, and a good tree cannot produce bad fruit. So you'll know them by their fruits. Yeah, so we focus on the fruit, but the reality is we also need to pay attention to the tree. A good tree will bear good fruit. So be a good tree. Trust in the Lord. and allow him to direct your steps and be with him, follow him. The theme of the night was follow me, following Christ. And Mackenzie said what Christ asks of us is to be with him and to follow him and entrust our lives to him. And he's going to direct our steps. All the details, he'll work it out. And so it was good, really thoughtful. I think every adult in there was also taking notes. I know I was. It's like, yeah, that's so good. I need to be aware of that. So as a part of my reflection this morning, as I was spending time reflecting both on the weekend as well as just my thoughts for today, I wanted to reflect for you on being mindful of what God is accomplishing in our life and in our heart in just everyday experiences. And most of the time we just do our everyday experiences and we don't reflect. We don't think about what messages God might be speaking or how we can enjoy the moment that we're presently in, because our mind is really elsewhere. Our mind is looking down the road in the future. We're anticipating something. We're worrying about something that's going to happen. And so we lose track of the present. We're not present. We're not mindful of where we're at and what we're feeling and everything in the moment. And so I just wanted to, so last Friday, I wanted to do a reflection on this, like an exercise based upon this. Last Friday is my day off, and for the first time in several weeks, I went fishing. I went up to the mountains. I hiked into a remote part of the upper McCallum River. That there is no trail to get there. You have to bushwhack and navigate. And I fished for a couple of hours. And so the next day, Saturday, I reflected on that and what was my experience like? What is God teaching me in those times? Because when I was there, I was present. I was doing what I wanted to be doing. But as I reflected the next day, I'm thinking, okay, God, what are you teaching me in even that experience of enjoying going up and pulling a trout or several trout out of a river? And so I jotted down several thoughts. I just want to share them with you. And although this is based upon my own experience, I just want to using it as an exercise, an example of being mindful about our everyday experiences and how God can teach us in them. And these are just a few examples I'm just going to give you this morning. One is discipline. I woke up I never set my alarm clock. I always wake up early anyway. And I knew I wanted to get on the road or close to 5 a.m. Well, I woke up at 5. Yeah, I had to make sure I had the time right. I woke up around 5, but I was not ready to get up. My body was tired. My mind was tired. I was like, I don't really feel like going fishing. So I was laying there thinking, wouldn't it be nice just to sit in my chair and sip a hot cup of coffee and do nothing this morning? It's my day off. I don't even have to do the live stream. I can just spend this nice, quiet time doing nothing. And that's okay. But I had intended to go fishing. And so I had to pull my bones out of bed and get dressed, go make a pot of coffee and put that in a travel mug and get on the road because I needed to start early. I had to drive. I had to drive an hour to get to the spot where I was going to park to hike down into the river canyon. And so discipline was the first thing that God is teaching me in that experience. All right, I'm tired, but I need to get up because I want to experience something. I've made a decision to experience something. I'm going to follow through with that. Uncertainty has to do with trusting the Lord and so on, and being okay with an uncertain future. These are all heart issues. So discipline, making decisions, mind and heart issues. Uncertainty had to do with the fact that there's more than one way to get to the place where I'm going. One is to travel down Panther Creek Road, which is right there by Ham Station. which is the quickest way to get where I wanted to go. But I didn't know if the gate would be open. You have to drive down Panther Creek Road quite a ways before you run into the first gate. I didn't know if it'd be open yet. And so I'm like, okay, it's okay. Even if I drive down the road and I run into a closed gate, there's more than one way to get there. I'll lose some time, but it's okay. Just being okay with uncertainty. Something that God was working on my heart. And yeah, the gate was closed. I had to drive back up and I had to go all the way up to Ellis Road and take Ellis Road all the way down to Salt Springs Road. So uncertainty is something that God was working on my heart as a part of my experience Friday morning. Risk has to do with things, touches into anxiety and fear as well. So I get to where I'm going to park, and it is a steep drop down into the canyon because you have to slip under the aqueduct that runs along Salt Springs Road, and you have to find a place where the aqueduct bridges a little draw, and you kind of slip underneath that, and then you just bushwhack all the way down the steep hill through undergrowth, and you can't really see where you're going, and there's no real landmarks that you're just going down. And so you're recognizing that I'm going off into a place where few people travel. Likely no one will be there today, on that day, or for days maybe after or before. Once you're down there, you're moving along the side. Fishing these remote areas, you have to be more stealthy. So you have to be quiet. So you have to be very mindful about every footstep, because the fish, they sense your presence. You're like a bear or something coming alongside they scatter. They don't, obviously that's their instincts kicking in. So their fish are easily spooked in these remote areas. So you have to be real quiet. So you're mindful of all your steps. Plus, to get to certain areas, to get where I can actually reach the water and fish, I was fly fishing. I have to be mindful of trees and stuff because your line goes back behind you as a back cast, and then you go forward. So you have to get to certain areas to get to where the fish are. And so you have to jump out on you have to cross over certain boulders, and not all boulders are stationary. They move. They look stationary until you step on them. And so the risk is you could turn an ankle. You could fall in the water. You could knock your head. You can whatever. You have to be mindful. You have to be very careful. Not only have to be quiet and stealthy, you have to be mindful of where you're at, because if you were to injure yourself, there's nobody coming for you for a long time. And if they knew exactly where you were, they might not find you for a long time because it's so remote where you're at. So, that kind of weighs on your heart. You got okay, just be careful. Take a step at a time. Be mindful of where you're at. A couple more before we go. The other one is patience. When you get to, everything is slow. You move very slowly. I talk about being stealthy. You just can't tromp around. You have to move slow in all this. And then you get to a particular edge of the river, and you're looking at a pool and a little riffle of water where trout like to lie and wait for food to come down to them. They face upstream, and so you approach from behind. So they're looking up. You're approaching going upstream, and you cast into that pool where they're at, or the little riffle, that little seam or that foam line in the water, right behind a rock or right in front of a rock. These are all places where you just know trout. They are waiting for their food source, and so you just present that food source to them. But so you have to be very patient in how you do this, and then once you fish a particular spot, I have to because it's not wide open. It's lots of undergrowth and steep and difficult terrain. So I have to break down my whole system, pack it all up. It only takes about 30 seconds to a minute. But when you're fishing, you're like, I want to cover ground. I want to get to that spot, this spot. I want to catch all the fish here. I want to move right on to the next spot, catch all the fish there. I want to maximize every moment. But when you in these areas, your techniques you're using, you can't go fast. It's not about efficiency. It's not about covering lots of water. I covered less than a mile, maybe a half a mile in 2 hours. And you have to go slow. So My heart was learning patience during that time. I need to learn patience. I need to embrace slowness at times. I live life at a very fast pace. I don't like to waste time. I like to get as much done as I possibly can. And so this kind of fishing for me teaches my heart slowness. It's okay. Be patient, slow down. It's okay that you're not covering 5 miles of river. You're only covering a half a mile. And you move slow, and you have to, your heart has to be okay. And the last one I want to talk about is, there was more than this, but I just want the last thing was limits, the idea of limits. Accepting limitations is hard. Let me give you some examples from my fishing. So I have my fly rod it's a Japanese fly rod. It's called a tenkara rod. So it's a fixed length line on it. So it's not the kind that has a reel and you can spool out lots of line to get to a far location, or just a little bit of line you fish somewhere near. It's a fixed length, so you can only get yourself in a position to get to so many areas on the water, so many parts of the river. And so sometimes my mind would wander in those moments, like, oh, if I only had a traditional Western fly rod, I could get to that far pool over there because I know there's fish over there. Or if I had my spinning gear, a regular spinning rod, I could cast a lot further to cover more water. But I didn't. I had this fixed line fly rod that I only could reach 15, 20 feet from wherever I was. And to get that close, you got to be really stealthy, and you're low and you're hunkered down and kind of putting that fly out there. And I had to accept my limits. And there's times that the shoreline that I was on had a lot of trees and so on, so I couldn't fish that water because I needed room for my back cast. And I'm looking at the other side of the river going, oh, it's like wide open over there. That'd be perfect for fly fishing. Plenty of room for back casts. But I wasn't on the other side of the river. I couldn't get to the other side of the river. And so accepting limits, I could have, you have to accept the limits, because I would have enjoyed fishing, because I would be constantly thinking about where I wasn't and what I couldn't get to. And the fact was, I fished a bunch of water. I caught a lot of fish. There was no lack of water to be fished, and there was no lack of fish to be caught. But if I sometimes we fix our mind on the places like, well, it'd be so much better if. It'd be just, if I could just get to that. And it's just out of reach. And we dwell on the things that we can't do. And we miss out on enjoying the things that are right in front of us. And so I had to accept my limits. And when I did that mindfully, several times because you're constantly seeing, that little pool of water right over there, that looks so fishy, I bet there's fish in it. You have to just say, okay, I'm going to let that go, because I'm just going to fish what I can reach. And that was plenty. And I pulled out several beautiful variations of trout. Two species, the rainbow trout and brown trout. But each fish is so unique. Their colorings and markings, and I love that. And the experience was so good. So my point today is, if we're mindful about what we're doing right in the moment, we can experience the voice of God, paying attention to our own emotions, or to our own heart, and experiencing God's presence with us and what He's teaching us, even in something as simple as getting up out of bed, hiking down into a canyon, wetting a line, and pulling a trout out of a trout stream. God is there. He is teaching us every moment of our lives. And if we take time to reflect and to be mindful of those things, God is teaching us. He's with us every step of the way. So be mindful today, even in the little things that are happening today. Be mindful of God's presence and yield your heart to Him. He longs to just enjoy life with us as our loving Heavenly Father, and enjoy Him today. Lord bless you on this Memorial Day holiday.